Sometimes a single choice, made in the worst possible moment, decides the rest of a life. And sometimes, the person who makes that choice has no idea how far its echoes will travel. On a rain-soaked night, outside a nearly closed coffee shop, one act of courage began a chain reaction no amount of money could ever buy. The rain slammed against the windows of the tiny cafe, relentless and loud, turning the parking lot into a shimmering sheet of gray. Anna moved slowly between the tables, wiping them down with practiced motions, her shoulders tight, her arms aching after another double shift. The smell of old coffee and cinnamon clung to the air. She glanced at the clock mounted crookedly near the register. Closing time. At last. She reached for her raincoat from the hook behind the counter when a sharp metallic crash tore through the storm, slicing through the hum of the espresso machine. She froze. Another sound followed, louder this time, then a sickening crunch that made her stomach drop. Metal on asphalt. Instinct overrode exhaustion. Anna pushed through the cafe door and into the rain, the cold soaking her hair and shirt in seconds. Her sneakers slipped as she ran toward the road, heart hammering harder with every step. Then she saw him. A man lay sprawled across the street, unmoving, rain streaking through the dark pool spreading beneath his head. A black sedan sat several yards away, its front end crushed, windshield spider-webbed. No other cars. No voices. No help. Anna dropped to her knees beside him, breath ragged. "Sir, can you hear me?" she called, pressing trembling fingers to his neck. A pulse. Weak, but there. His chest rose shallowly, blood streamed from his hairline, mixing with rainwater. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "There's been an accident," she said, forcing her voice steady. "A man's been hit. He's unconscious. There's a lot of blood. Please hurry." The dispatcher asked questions, but Anna barely heard them. Her eyes never left his face. She ended the call and tore off her apron, folding it into a rough pad and pressing it gently against his head wound. She'd never seen this much blood. Her stomach churned, but she stayed. Minutes later, sirens cut through the rain. Paramedics rushed in, easing her back as they worked. "You called it in?" one asked. "Yes." He was alone, Anna said, wiping rain and blood from her hands. "We've got a male, late 30s, heavy blood loss, no ID," another medic reported. "Do you know him?" "No," Anna said, then added without thinking, "but I'm coming with you." They hesitated. "I was the first one here," she said quickly. "Someone should go with him." A beat passed. Then a nod. Inside the ambulance, the world narrowed to flashing lights, clipped medical commands, and the man's shallow breathing. One medic swore under his breath. "He's O negative. We're dangerously low everywhere." Anna's heart skipped. What does that mean? It means if we don't find blood fast, he won't make it. She swallowed. "I'm O negative." Both medics turned. "You're sure?" "Yes. I donated years ago." They exchanged a look. "You weigh over 110. She hesitated. "No, but I'll sign whatever you need. Please." One medic shook his head. "There are rules. I've watched someone die because I didn't help," Anna said, voice breaking. "I won't do that again." Silence. Finally, one nodded. "We'll ask the ER." The ambulance roared toward the hospital. Anna held the stretcher rail, then reached out and took the man's cold hand. "You're not alone," she whispered. "You're going to live." The ER was chaos, bright lights, rushing feet, shouted orders. Anna sat shivering on a bench as doctors moved around her. A physician approached. "You're O negative," he said. "Yes. You're underweight." "I don't care." He sighed. "We can't approve a full donation." Tears welled in her eyes. "Please." He studied her. "Why?" She told him about Liam. About fear. About regret that never faded. The doctor listened, then nodded slowly. "We'll allow a partial draw." Minutes later, Anna lay back as the needle slid into her arm. She closed her eyes as memories flooded in. When it was over, dizziness washed through her, but relief followed. The doctor returned. "He's stable," he said. "You bought him time." Anna closed her eyes, tears slipping free. 3 days later, Michael Sterling woke to white light and pain. "Where is she?" he asked hoarsely. No one knew her name. But he would find her. He had to. Michael Sterling did not sleep after he woke. His body lay still beneath crisp white sheets, bruised and broken in ways the doctors kept listing off, but his mind refused to rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw rain streaking sideways through flashing lights, felt a small hand gripping his, heard a voice steady and fierce telling him not to let go. She was there, he murmured again, more to himself than anyone else. A nurse glanced over, adjusted a monitor, and smiled gently. "You're safe now, Mr. Sterling." Safe. The word felt unfamiliar. James arrived before dawn, tie perfectly knotted, relief barely masking the tension in his eyes. "Sir, security is locked down. Press doesn't know. Family's been notified." Michael waved him quiet. "Find her." James blinked. "Sir, the woman who stayed with me. She rode in the ambulance. She saved my life." The words felt strange and grounding at the same time. James nodded slowly. "We'll review footage, talk to EMTs." Michael leaned back, pain flaring through his ribs, but he welcomed it. Pain meant he was alive. By evening, fragments surfaced. A paramedic remembered a cafe apron soaked through. Security cameras caught a glimpse of brown hair pulled back hastily. A receipt led to a small coffee shop 2 blocks from the accident. Michael smiled faintly when James confirmed it. "Tomorrow," he said, "I'll go myself." The bell above the cafe door chimed softly when he entered the next morning. The place smelled of cinnamon and familiarity, sunlight filtering through rain-streaked windows. Anna looked up from wiping a table and froze. Recognition passed between them like a held breath. You're alive," she said. "Because of you." He introduced himself simply. No titles. No explanations. He held out white lilies. She accepted them cautiously. When he offered the envelope, her expression hardened. No, the refusal landed harder than any boardroom rejection he'd ever faced. "I didn't do it for money," she said quietly. "Then forgive me," he replied. And for the first time in years, he meant it without condition. Michael returned again, and again. Always just coffee. Always black. He listened more than he spoke. Learned about her mother, her brother, the bookstore job. One night, rain fell again, gentler this time, and he found the broken wind chime outside the cafe. He fixed it with careful hands and left a note. When Anna found it, she stood very still. Something in her chest shifted, subtle but undeniable. Conversations grew longer. Silences grew comfortable. Michael spoke of his brother at last, voice rough with truths he'd buried under contracts and concrete. "No one stopped," he said. "Anna didn't try to fix it. She simply stayed." The idea came quietly, not as a grand vision but as a question. What if help didn't have to be late? Michael asked one evening. Anna studied him. Then people wouldn't have to carry regret. LifeChain was born not in a boardroom, but at a scratched cafe table. They built it piece by piece. Hospitals, volunteers, donors, no headlines, no gala dinners, just response, fast and human. Michael watched Anna command rooms with quiet authority, her compassion setting the tone. He followed her lead, shedding layers of the man he used to be. Together they traveled dusty roads and crowded clinics, listening to stories stitched together by survival. One night under a bridge, lights humming around the first mobile unit, Anna touched his hand. "Now someone will stop," she said. Michael nodded, throat tight. He believed it. And somewhere between blood drives and borrowed motel rooms, between grief shared and hope rebuilt, love took root, not loud or flashy, but steady, undeniable. The community hall buzzed with low conversation and soft laughter, the kind that carried gratitude rather than celebration. Posters lined the walls, simple photographs of ordinary people holding handwritten signs that read, "I'm alive because someone showed up." Anna stood near the back with a cup of jasmine tea warming her palms, watching volunteers greet families who had traveled hours just to say thank you. LifeChain had grown faster than either of them anticipated. What began as a quiet idea between two people had become a living network, a pulse moving through cities and towns, reaching people just before hope ran out. Anna never called herself a founder. She preferred helper. When asked to speak, she hesitated, then stepped forward, voice steady but unpolished. She spoke of fear, of regret, of second chances that arrive without warning. "I'm not here because I'm brave," she said. "I'm here because I was once too afraid, and I don't want anyone else to live with that silence." The applause that followed was gentle, respectful, earned. Michael watched from the side, something unfamiliar swelling in his chest. Pride, yes, but also humility. He had once believed impact required dominance. Anna had taught him it required presence. Their lives settled into a rhythm of motion and meaning. Clinics at dawn, long drives through open land, shared meals eaten on tailgates and folding tables. Michael learned to carry coolers, to speak softly to parents whose hands shook as they signed consent forms. He stopped wearing his watch. Time mattered less now. One afternoon, Anna discovered the jasmine tea boxes in his office, each labeled with quiet intention. She said nothing, but something warm bloomed behind her ribs. They never rushed what grew between them. It unfolded naturally, built on shared purpose and unspoken understanding. Then came Chicago. The anniversary event was meant to honor the network, not individuals. Anna stood at the back, expecting nothing. When Michael stepped onto the stage, his voice carried through the hall, steady and sincere. He told the truth. About dying. About being saved by a stranger who refused to look away. When he called her name, her knees nearly gave out. She walked forward as the room rose around her. When he knelt, the world seemed to narrow to a single breath. The ring was simple, the question even simpler. Her answer carried the weight of every moment that led them there. "Yes," she whispered, tears falling freely. The applause thundered, but all Michael heard was her voice. They stood together beneath the life chain emblem, not as symbols, but as proof. Proof that compassion could reroute a life. Proof that love could grow from the smallest, bravest acts. Later, when the hall emptied and the lights dimmed, they stood alone near the stage. Michael took her hands. "Thank you," he said. Anna smiled softly. "For what?" "For stopping." She leaned into him. Outside, the city hummed, unaware that two lives once on the brink had found each other through courage, through blood, through a promise made in silence and spoken aloud at last. And somewhere, far beyond the chandeliers and applause, the chain kept moving. One call, one donor, one life at a time.